shares of Moderna rallying today as well after the company said its COVID-19 vaccine is 94% effective. We spoke to the CEO of that company earlier this morning for the latest there. Yahoo Finance's Anjali Kamlani was there with that interview. She joins us now with the latest. Anjali?
Thanks, Zach. Yep. So, of course, really positive news from the company itself. Of course, we haven't seen the data just yet on that vaccine candidate, but it is promising news, and we know that health experts and federal officials are, of course, very excited by that. Waiting now for the ending of that trial. This is the first sort of interim readout of the results. We're waiting for the full conclusion of the observation period as well as the full data to be reviewed before they apply for that emergency use authorization. The results, of course, are a little bit stronger than what we saw from Pfizer in terms of efficacy. And one other key point being that the refrigeration temperature required is a little bit lower, so it could be more broadly distributed is the hope. Listen to what Stéphane Bancel had to say about the coming weeks and months.
It's a bit too early to tell exactly the population because the data is blinded to us as a company. As you know, this is run by an independent NIH investigator group and safety board. But what we know so far as this first kind of cut of the data as of 95 participants, we know that 90 of those participants were on placebo and got disease. And 5 that were on the vaccine got disease as well. That is how the team determined the 94.5% with very good kind of statistical strength. The other piece that is almost more exciting to me is the secondary endpoint, which was severe disease. As we know with vaccination, what are we trying to do? We're trying to prevent people from getting disease. And if they get disease, you want to prevent them to get to the hospital. And those are where the severe disease cases are very important. And so out of the 95 cases, we had 11 cases of severe disease. 11 were on placebo and 0 were on the vaccine arm, which means that if you get the vaccine based on the data we have so far, is you have a very high chance of getting protected of having no disease. That's the 94%. But if you get disease, most probably you will get mild disease, not severe disease. And that's, of course, a game changer. If we could have a vaccine that will prevent people from getting severe disease, that will lead to hospitalization, that will lead in a worst-case scenario to ICU, and in worst outcome to death, that will be a game changer in terms of course, reducing hospitalization and death, the impact on the economy. And so this is why we are now getting ready to prepare in the coming weeks the filing to the EUA, to the FDA. We want to finish the study. The final analysis has always been set up at 151 cases. We had 95 as of last Wednesday. And given the number of cases in the country, it's going to be a matter of days, not weeks, that we get the full data set. Because that's very important to your question. We'll be able to analyze the elderly, African-American, Latino, Latinx, and to really understand, is the vaccine working across the board? We had a good demographic sample in that 95 participants. So we are cautiously optimistic, but it's only when we'll have a final analysis filed to the FDA that we'll be able to sit down with the CDC to figure out who is best for the Moderna vaccine.
Thanks. And I know that one of the things you were previously asked, is there an update on the timeline right now? Because you are looking at producing 20 million doses by the end of the year, with more than 40 million, I believe, per month after that. So as it stands right now, is there an update to the timeline based on who can get this vaccine first and when you anticipate the general public will be able to receive doses?
Yes. So this will be determined by the CDC. When they will receive a full data set from the different vaccines, when they will be submitted to the regulators, i.e. to the FDA. So we are a few weeks away from the data being available to the FDA, for then the CDC being able to determine who should get the vaccine first. So we think that in the EUA period, this would be mostly used for elderly persons, for people with high risk, like diabetes, people that are obese. As you have seen, those are comorbidity factors that have been reported by the CDC. And then what we anticipate then is to file for a full BLA, a full product approval, where anybody above the age of 18 could get access to the product. I think this is more kind of a late Q1 timeframe, where any Americans who want vaccination can get access to it. And then the next piece is the young. We are going to start very soon a study in teenagers. As typical with vaccine, you want to wait to have safety, but also efficacy of a vaccine, to have a good sense that the vaccine can drive a benefit before you start dosing the teenagers. And so we're going to start teenagers very soon. I'm hoping we'll get teenager data by the end of June, so that in the July-August timeframe, teenagers can be vaccinated, so they can go back to a normal school year with their teachers and the staff being vaccinated in the spring, the students, in the summer. And then we're also going to go down early next year in age by going down to younger children, down to toddlers. But those who have to be very, very careful for obvious safety reasons. You have to start at a lower dose, and you go down slowly in age as you get the validation that the vaccine is well tolerated and makes enough antibodies. So that will take a bit of a while. I anticipate this maybe more toward the end of 2021 for younger children.
Absolutely. And pivoting to the stock right now, up more than 10% on this news, obviously a very exciting day. But in the recent past, we've seen a little bit of focus on some of that share activity, sales of shares by executives like yourself and others across the board, not just with Moderna, but there have been other companies. Do you have any thoughts on that, on the criticism and sort of the focus on that right now?
I mean, if you think about it, Moderna has been private for 8 years. I invested in every private round of a company. I'm actually the only investor in the world who put cash at the same financial terms as every other investors across those things. And when the company became public in December 18, we set up plans to provide a little bit of liquidity. And that's basically what you're seeing. So because of the success of a company, I think there's a lot of scrutiny. But if you look at the plans that are happening, they have been happening when the stock was at 20. We had no idea that the stock was going to be at this place because none of us anticipated the pandemic, obviously, in December 18 when we went public. And so I think it's pretty typical. I think there's just a lot of focus on it right now. I hope people realize, at least in my case, most of my wealth is still in Moderna stock and will remain for a long time. I think it's just the beginning. As I've said on our last earnings call, 2021 is going to be an inflection year for the company. We now know that Moderna can make effective vaccine. This was proven today. Moderna is a platform. mRNA is an information molecule. We have a CMV vaccine, for example, that's going to start phase 3 next year. We believe it's a 2 to 5 billion annual peak sales product. There is no CMV vaccine approved on the market. There are 10,000 kids in this country every year that are going to be born with birth defects, because their mom will get CMV infection during pregnancy. No vaccine on the market. We have a high probability of success of this product now. And now Moderna at the end of Q3 had $4 billion of cash. So think about what we can do by now knowing that the technology is de-risked and investing in more product to scale up the company. This is just the beginning, big inflection point next year.
Stéphane, it's Julie again here. I want to ask about what the coronavirus vaccine specifically, obviously it would be great news for society and humankind, whoever comes out with a successful vaccine. Talk to me more about what it means for Moderna. Is this going to be a profitable product for you?
So I think it means two things for Moderna. The short term in terms of product sales and profit, and then the long term, which is the validation of a platform. Because unlike other pharmaceutical products, if you look at big pharmaceutical companies, there is no correlation between their products in the pipeline. In our case, it is not the same. The CMV vaccine uses exactly the same technology than the COVID vaccine. So in the de-risking of a platform, I think the value is really incredible. In the short term, what we've said is we're going to make a reasonable profit on the vaccine. We have been selling recently a vaccine around $37 per dose for low orders. I'm talking millions of doses. When governments place very large order, like the US government placed a 100 million dose order, as you recall, a month or two ago, the price was at $25 per dose because of volume discount. And so if you think about it, we generated $1 billion of cash from operation in Q3. We went from having lost money for 8 years to our first quarter turning operating cash flow of $1 billion generated in the quarter. So I think next year is going to be an interesting year where I believe we're going to generate a lot of cash. We have $4 billion of cash and no debt at the end of Q3. So I think the company is going to be extremely well positioned. By the end of 2021, we're going to have a lot of product in the pipeline, a very strong cash balance so that we can scale Moderna to really maximize the value of this platform in the next 5 to 10 years.
Stéphane, will you be speaking to President-elect Joe Biden today? And how concerned are you that President-elect Joe Biden is not getting the information he needs from President Trump? And will that impact the distribution of your vaccine?
So the distribution of a vaccine is being currently handled by Operation Warp Speed, Dr. Slawi and General Perna. We are talking to them almost on a daily basis. They are coordinating with the CDC, with Mark Kesson, who, as you know, has been selected by the US government to do the distribution. The next big step is really going to be around data, the FDA data that the CDC will use to decide who gets what vaccine. So all that process is clearly ongoing. And I know there are daily discussions with different members of the government.
So as you can hear, a lot packed into the news today for Moderna. And of course, the anticipation still building as we wait until the results come out and approvals start to get underway. Zach?